Okay, so thank you all devotees for joining. I think the session is recording now from Sami Prabhu's laptop. So again, one last time I'm saying, if you have a notebook handy, please take one. You will really need it. So I'm just going to begin by sharing my screen. Let me actually show you one very beautiful verse before we begin, because this will serve as the basis basically for my presentation. So if anyone would like to read voluntarily, please do.
মানে কি বলবো রাইসের কি ঘি নালে হানি মানে হ্যাঁ হানি মিশিয়ে বানায় একটাই
Okay. So if anyone wants to read, please do. Maybe Gaura Shakti Prabhu would like to read.
Yes, I will read, Prabhu.
Please read.
CCRG 8:15. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dai Kalaha Vichai. Vichara Kalite Chite Pabe Chamakala. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful.
Yes. So now here, if we are interested in logic and argument, kindly apply to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And even also this applies to the mercy of Sri Prabhupada, especially his rhetoric system of initiations, right? So nowadays, so many debates are going on between us and ISKCON.
Yes.
Who's right, who's wrong. So if we are interested in logic, we have to apply it. But how to apply it? Many devotees don't know that. So just to give them a brief idea, and I'm only just scratching the surface with this particular presentation because there is a lot more to understand with logic. So I'll actually just get into my notes. And this time, I think all of you have a notebook. I'll assume you do. All of you, including Lebohang Prabhu. Hari bol. Hari bol. So, yes, Prabhu. So I'm going to start with the first topic. And this first small topic, mini topic of this presentation is going to be pratyaksha, or in other words, perception. Okay. So what makes something a perception, right? So we are going to basically delve a little bit into the Nyaya system of logic. And in the Nyaya system of logic, there is a very important verse, Nyaya Sutra 1.1.4, that explains what counts as perception, right? What makes something a perception? This means that the knowledge you get through your senses, like seeing, hearing, touching, etc. Okay, so this Nyaya Sutra verse 1.1.4 says that a perception must meet 4 conditions. Okay, perception must meet 4 conditions. The first condition is that it comes from direct contact between a sense and an object. So this means that perception happens when your senses, like your eyes, ears, nose, skin, or tongue, directly connect with something in the world, like a sound, a color, or an object. So the Nyaya Sutras believe in something called direct realism, which means we really do perceive things as they are, and not just images or ideas of them, right? Just like Maya means that which is not real. But we don't mean real in the sense that it's completely fake. No, everything is real. But we call everything in this cosmic manifestation as Maya because it is temporary. Ma means Ma means that, Ya means not. Maya means that which is not. So everything that we see around us is as it is. It's not something, fake, or it's not that something doesn't exist. Yes, if we compare it with spiritual matters, then yes, in comparison, everything in this material world really has no substance. It has no reality. But otherwise, everything exists, right? It's not false. It's real, but it is temporary. And therefore, we call everything that we see around us Maya. Right? So the Nyaya Sutra believes that direct realism. And it means that we really are perceiving everything that exists. around us, right? For example, this table, it exists. My hoodie, it also exists, right? Because I'm able to feel it, I'm able to see it. Okay. But we don't just perceive physical things, like, for example, a chair. We can also perceive qualities like color or shape. And we can even perceive absences, like noticing that your book is missing. Because if you usually have a set place that you keep a book and one day you don't see it, that means you notice that it's missing, right? So we can also notice absences and even relationships also. So to explain this, Nyaya philosophers listed 6 kinds of connections between the sense and what it perceives. Now I'm going to be listing 6 sub-points under the first point itself. The first point talks about the fact that it comes from direct contact between a sense and an object. So the first point basically is the first criteria out of 4 that a perception must meet. So I'm giving you 4 conditions. The first condition is it comes from direct contact between a sense and an object. Now, within this first condition, I am going to list 6 sub-conditions, right? Or rather 6 connections, 6 kinds of connections between the sense and what it perceives. So the first sub-point, the first kind of connection is conjunction, or in other words, samyog. Like your eyes seeing a chair directly, for example, that is samyog. Samyog means, like, for example, your eyes seeing an object directly. That is conjunction. The second kind of connection is inherence in what's connected. In Sanskrit, this is called samyukta samavaya, like seeing the chair's color. The third point is inherence in what inheres in what's connected. Samyukta samaveta samavaya. In case you didn't understand that, it's like recognizing that the red color, for example, is part of the group of colors in general. Right? For example, to recognize that a particular color is part of the group called color. Right? Then the fourth point is inherence or samavaya in general. This helps us hear sounds by connecting the ear to the sound's source. That is inherence. And point number 5 is inherence in what inheres. Samaveta samavaya, like recognizing the category of a sound. Like, for example, if a sound is music or if it's speech. Right? That's point number 5. Inherence in what inheres. Then the final kind of connection is the qualifier to qualified relation. This is called Vishesha Visheshana Bhava. This helps us perceive when something has or lacks a certain quality. Like noticing, for example, that a room is empty. So I'll repeat these 6 kinds of connections under the first condition. The first is conjunction, samayog, like your eyes seeing, for example, a chair directly. The second one is inherence in what's connected, samyukta samavaya, like seeing the chair's color. The third kind of connection under the first condition is that inherence in what inheres in what's connected, samyukta samaveta samavaya, like recognizing that the red color is part of the group of colors in general, for example. The fourth point, inherence, samavaya. This helps us hear sounds by connecting the ear to the sound's source. Then inherence in what inheres, which is point number 5, samaveta samavaya, like, for example, recognizing the category of a sound, whether a sound can be classified as music or speech. And the final point, the final kind of connection, like I mentioned, was qualifier to qualified relation. Vishesha Visheshana Bhava. This helps us perceive when something has or lacks a certain quality, like noticing that a room is empty. So these are the 6 kinds of connections between the sense and what it perceives. Okay. And this comes under the first condition of whether or not a perception can be counted as a perception. This is just one of 4 conditions. It comes under direct contact between a sense and an object. That is the first condition. Then the second condition now is that it doesn't depend on words. This means that when you see or hear something, your knowledge doesn't come from someone telling you about it. For example, when you see a cow, you know it's a cow even before anyone says the word cow, right? Your mind may apply the concept of cow, but it's not because someone told you in that moment. So this rule is there to separate perception from testimony. which is when someone tells you something using language. Yes, this is the second one. It doesn't depend on words. The third condition is that it must not be wrong. This rule says that if you mistake something, like thinking a shiny shell is silver, that's not real perception. Nyaya says a real way of knowing, called pramana, is always correct. If it's wrong, it only seems like a perception, but it isn't. It's a fake or false perception. It's called pramana abhas. So just because you saw something doesn't mean you really knew it correctly, right? That's the third one. Then the final condition, the fourth condition, means it must be clear and certain. If you're unsure about whether you're seeing, like when it's getting dark and you can't tell whether it's a person or a tree, then that's not a full perception either. Yes? It's not exactly wrong, but it's not fully correct either. It's unclear, or in other words, doubtful. So for something to count as real perception, it has to be definite. You know what it is. Yes? So I'll quickly reiterate these four conditions. The first condition as to what a perception must, or rather what a perception is, depends on four conditions. A perception must meet four conditions. The first is it comes from direct contact between a sense and an object, under which I gave you 6 different kinds of relations. Then the second condition is it doesn't depend on words. The third condition is it must not be wrong. And the fourth condition means it must be clear and certain. And there's actually a very nice note from later thinkers. So later, Nyaya thinkers, and by the way, for those who just joined, Nyaya basically means the science of logic and reasoning. The Vedic science, the Vedic art of logic, reasoning, and debate. So later Nyaya thinkers like Vachaspati Mishra said that perceptions can be of two types. Non-verbal, meaning you just see or sense something without forming a sentence in your mind, and verbal. You see something and your mind immediately says, that's a cow, for example. So even though this wasn't clearly said in the original sutra, of course, later Nyaya accepted both kinds. So now we get into the next part, which is about extraordinary perceptual states. Extraordinary perceptual states. So Nyaya explains that sometimes we have unusual kinds of perception that still count as real perception, even though they're not the usual kind we get through our 5 senses. These are called extraordinary perceptions, and they happen in special situations that go beyond the 6 normal types of sense-object connections, like seeing, hearing, etc. And later on, of course, Nyaya philosophers, starting with, I think, Jayanta, he listed 3 kinds of extraordinary perception. The first is yogic perception. And this is a kind of perception. This is a kind of direct experience reported by advanced yogis, deep meditators. So in this state, they don't use their normal senses, but they still see, quote unquote, or directly experience things like the soul, like the self, God, prema, right? So even though these experiences happen in deep meditation, in deep trance, without the usual sense contact, they are considered real because they feel like true experiences and agree also with what scriptures and logic say, right? So Nyaya accepts that these are a special kind of perception, not imagination, right? So that's the first one, yogic perception. The second kind of special, extraordinary perceptual state is seeing a universal through an individual. Basically, this is just Nyaya's answer to the problem of how we know general rules from a few examples. Like, for example, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. The idea is this. We don't just see a smoky thing and a fire. Nyaya says we can actually see the universal qualities of smokiness and fieriness in those things. So eventually, with repeated experience, we can perceive that all smoke, as smoke, is always connected to all fire, as fire. And this isn't just guessing based on the past. It's a kind of special perception where we recognize a universal connection called vyapti between things, like cause and effect. So we may not notice right away. We may not notice it right away, but when we do, it's because we perceive the relationship, not because we simply assume it. Right? So this is the second kind of special kind of perception called seeing a universal through an individual. Then the third is perceiving properties through memory. So sometimes we see things and somehow feel qualities that we aren't actually seeing right now. So for example, you look at a piece of ice and see that it's cold. Or you look at sandalwood and see that it's fragrant. Just like the Gopi Chandan we apply, the tilak, right? We smell it. But sometimes we don't necessarily have to, feel it in order to see that it's fragrant, right? So even though you're not feeling the cold or smelling the fragrance right then, you still perceive those qualities because you remember them from before. You smelled them before. So therefore, if you see Gopi Chandan, even through your phone screen, you're trying to browse some Gopi Chandan to buy more. Now you're not smelling it directly, but you remember that smell. Right? The senses, the subtle senses kind of trigger, and you are subtly trying to smell it. Right? Even though the object is not there with you. That is what it means. So Nyaya says that this is still a kind of perception, but a special one, because your memory adds to what your senses are giving you. It's not the same as making a logical guess, which is inference, because you actually experience the quality, not just think it. So for someone unfamiliar, it might seem like a guess, but for someone who knows well, it feels just like seeing. So basically, in short, Nyaya expands the idea of perception to include special cases, like what yogis see, how we recognize general truths, and how memory helps us perceive qualities. So these are different. These are, of course, different from everyday seeing or hearing, but they're still treated as valid ways of knowing the world. Yes? Then we go to the next one. The next subtopic. It's called introspection. Many people actually speak about introspection. But what is introspection exactly? Not many people can actually define it. But let's see how Vedic literature defines it. So Nyaya says that when we know something, like for example, there is a red truck or there is a red chariot, our mind clearly shows us the object. In this case, a red chariot. But usually the cognition itself, or in other words, the act of knowing, is not directly noticed. However, there are times when we do notice or become aware of our own thoughts or experiences. And this happens through something called apperception, which is basically a second level thought that sees the first thought. So if I think that chariot is red, then later I might also have the awareness that I just thought the chariot was red. So the second awareness is called apperception. It's a kind of introspection. Right? So people usually sometimes ask though, is apperception always correct? Apperception is very reliable because it doesn't guess. It just reports what the first thought was. But it doesn't guarantee the first thought itself was right. So for example, I might think that that chariot is red. Later, I clearly remember having that thought. But maybe the truck was actually purple or the chariot was actually purple. And my glasses made it look red. So even though my apperception was correct, I did have that red chariot thought. The original thought itself was mistaken. So Nyaya includes this type of inner perception under the category of perception. In this case, the sense involved is not the eyes or ears, but the inner organ, the mind, mana. So what is the mind? Nyaya explains that we don't experience everything with all our senses at once. There must be something that directs our attention to one thing at a time. That's what the mind does. It's like the brain's spotlight. The mind is not conscious on its own. It works as a helper. It connects the soul, the self, to the senses. It helps you also remember things, and it lets you become aware of your own thoughts, like an introspection. So for Nyaya, the self is where awareness and memory live. But the self needs the mind to actually access and organize experiences. Right? So that is basically what I would point out. And I would also point out that perception is actually the eldest way of knowing. In fact, the Nyaya Sutras call perception the Jyeshtha Praman, meaning the eldest or most important way of knowing. Why? Because all other types of knowledge like inference, which is basically just guessing based on logic, analogy, comparison, and testimony, hearing from others, depend on perception first. And perception works directly with the real world. It connects your sense or inner awareness to the object, right? So Nyaya philosophers define perception as a knowledge that comes directly, not from some other thought or guess, directly. So, for example, seeing a cow, for example, that's perception. Thinking it must be a cow because I see horns is actually inference. Inference means guessing, but based on logic. So, seeing some object is perception, and thinking it must be that object because I see something else, which directly relates with that object. That is called inference. So, if a thought is caused by the right kind of connection, sense touching the object or the mind touching a thought, and it accurately picks out the object, then it counts as true knowledge, pramana, right? So in short, Nyaya says that introspection, or in other words, apperception, is a real kind of perception that helps us know our own thoughts. It works through the mind, and it also shows that the mind doesn't just look outward, it can also look inward and remember also what it saw. So I think all of you are with me so far, right? Okay. I hope it's not too difficult to understand. That's why I gave you notebook privileges. So now we go to inference, which I just mentioned. What is inference? Anuman. In Sanskrit, inference is called Anuman. And by the way, all these that I'm telling you, this is very helpful for your preaching, at least in debates, especially those that come for us against the Ritwik system of initiations, right? We can use some of these properties to defend, you see, because people these days, they only demand pure logic, right? So this is the whole reason I'm giving this presentation, to make your life a little bit easier when debates come your way, especially about the Ritwik system of initiations, because we have to learn how to defend it properly with Shastric injunctions, with Prabhupada's quotes, but how to put those quotes forward and present them. This is the science I'm giving you, little bit. So now we go on to inference. In Sanskrit, inference is called Anuman. Now, let's talk about first thing, the nature of inference. The Nyaya Sutras define inference as a cognition that arises from a prior cognition due to a conceptual connection between them. The term Anuman literally means after cognition, right? It actually hinges on recognizing a logical relation between two ideas, often triggered by perception. And there are three types of inference. The first is from cause to effect. The second one is from effect to the cause. And the third one is from constant co-occurrence, or in other words, a non-causal relation. Now, a very famous Vedic philosopher, Vatsyayana, explains that perception precedes inference in two important ways. One must have previously perceived the regular relation between a sign and what it signifies, for example, smoke and fire. And the inference itself begins when one sees the sign in a new situation, for example, smoke on a mountain, and recalls the established connection. And another Nyaya Sutra, Nyaya philosopher, expands this by saying any valid cognition, not just perception, can initiate inference. So here's an example actually of subtle inference. Sometimes the connection isn't directly observable. For instance, desire, aversion. Aversion is basically the opposite of desire, something you don't want to desire, something you want to run away from. So desire, aversion, and knowledge are properties. Properties must reside in substances. Therefore, there must be an unseen substance, or in other words, the self that supports these. So though we don't perceive the self directly, we infer it by analogy with seen properties like color, which are always found in substances, right? So what exactly is this cognitive structure of inference? Now, Nyaya treats logic as part of epistemology. Its goal is to produce true cognition, prama, not just valid form. And inference takes place internally, Svarthanuman, to generate knowledge. And it can also be externalized, Pararthanuman, as a formal argument meant to convince others. So although this duality is often credited to one Buddhist, Dignag, it's already present in the Nyaya Sutras actually. Right? And there are also some components of a valid inference. But there are two key components for valid inference. Two. Paksha dharmata, which is the recognition that the inferential sign, for example, smoke, qualifies the subject, for example, the mountain. And then the second thing is vyapti. The second component for valid inference is vyapti, which is a previously established invariable connection between the sign and the target property. For example, smoke always occurs with fire. Right? Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So this connection is processed through a subsumptive judgment, paramarsha, which is a cognition that brings these pieces together. I'll give you a very nice classic example. There is fire on the mountain because there is smoke. Now, this statement works because the observer recalls the vyapti. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Does that clarify things? So now we get into fallacies and false cognition. This is actually something very interesting that we always hear. Oh yeah, your logic is flawed. Your logic has these many fallacies and this and that, you know. But the thing is, a lot of people, especially from those from ISKCON that are trying to come against us, you know, saying Ritvik system is wrong because your logic has these many fallacies. The thing is, they keep throwing terms like fallacy without knowing what it means. What is fallacy? Hare Krishna, Girish. Do you want to speak something? Okay, that's not. Yeah. So anyway, we get into fallacies and false cognition. So what exactly is fallacy? Right? Now, since Nyaya is concerned with truth, it classifies errors in inference. Hetvabhasa. Errors in inference means Hetvabhasa. And Nyaya classifies errors in inference as either logical fallacies, which is basically just invalid reasoning, and factual errors or false premises. So both lead to false cognition and thus they are epistemically flawed. They're epistemically flawed. Right? So now I'll give you a nice structure of inference. Right? There is a nice structured and profound summary of inference in the Nyaya system. One of the most rigorous forms of Vedic logic. And I'm actually going to give you all a breakdown and a paraphrase synthesis that might help if you're trying to digest it or explain it to someone else, especially from a philosophical or analytical perspective. So the Nyaya 5-step syllogism is what is mentioned in the Nyaya Sutras. Nyaya logic is especially methodical when constructing inferences, often for debate or doctrinal exposition. So the standard form is 5 parts, each with a specific role. Pratignya is the thesis. Pratignya means thesis. For example, there is fire on the hill. This is a claim about something under question. Paksha. Paksha. A claim about something under question. There is fire on the hill. That's the first thing, pratignya, thesis. The second is hetu, reason. Because there is smoke. This is the inferential sign that suggests the truth of the thesis. Then udaharana, illustration. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Like, for example, in a kitchen, and unlike in a lake. This is an example. Drishtanta, to establish the vyapti. Vyapti means the invariable concomitance. Then upanaya, application. This hill has smoke. So this shows that the specific case, the hill, fits the general rule. And then finally, the 5th one, nigaman, conclusion. Therefore, this hill has fire. This is basically just a formal restatement of the original claim, but now justified. Right? So the first step is pratigna thesis, which is a claim about something under question. There is fire on the hill. The second one is hetu, reason, because there is smoke. This is the inferential sign that suggests the truth of the thesis. Udaharana, illustration, is the third one. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire, just like in a kitchen, but not like in a lake. This is an example to establish vyapti. The fourth is upanaya, which is application. This hill has smoke. And this shows that the specific case fits the general rule. And finally, nigamana. Therefore, this hill has fire. And it's just a formal restatement of the original statement, claim, but now it is justified, right? Because of the previous three steps. Now there is a slightly smaller version of these same 5 steps, this 5-step syllogism. And it's actually truncated in a 3-part form rather than 5. Often the full 5-part form is trimmed to just the essential components. For example, A is qualified by S. For example, the hill has fire. Because it is qualified by T. For example, the hill has smoke. And T implies S. For example, smoke implies fire, like in a kitchen. So this format actually keeps things brief, but assumes that the vyapti or concomitance is well known and accepted. Right? When the original claim is given, then the assumption comes that the vyapti is well known and also accepted. Right? So now, what are the core components I mentioned? I'm just going to summarize this because this is very deep. Paksha is the subject of inference, which is the hill. Hetu is the sign or the prover, which is the smoke in the example. Sadhya is the probandum or property to be proven, fire. Vyapti is the universal concomitance, meaning that smoke always implies fire. Sapaksha is a positive example, like a kitchen or a kitchen stove. And vipaksha, a negative counterexample, like the lake. So any instance of smoke without fire would break the vyapti and invalidate their inference. Vyapti is basically the invariable link. Nyaya's vyapti is not just correlation, but it's a universal epistemic rule grounded in consistent observation. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. It's not based on mere coincidence, but inductive support with corroborative instances. So if we speak on examples, Drishtanta, there is a layman and expert agreement actually. Vyapti depends on shared, non-controversial examples. For example, a Drishtanta should be something on which both ordinary people and experts agree. If no shared examples exist, like in some metaphysical disputes, then inference collapses because no common vyapti can be demonstrated. And there are different types of inference also, at least as per Udyottaka, one Nyaya philosopher. The first type of inference is a wholly positive one, Kevalanvaya. So only sapaksha or positive examples are known, but no vipaksha is available. For example, whatever exists is momentary, like a cloud. Like a cloud. That's the first type of inference. The second type of inference is wholly negative. Kevala vyatireki. Only negative examples or vipaksha are used. For example, a breathing body has a soul. A pot does not breathe and has no soul. That's a wholly negative example, right? Then the third and final example or type of inference is a positive and negative one. Anvaya vyatireki. It uses both sapaksha and vipaksha, or in other words, both positive examples and negative examples. So for example, there is fire on the hill because there is smoke, like a kitchen, unlike a lake, right? So these are the 3 types of inference as per Udyottaka. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, Pramod.
So now we get into
Yes.
fallacies, which is actually the most talked about thing. There's something called fallacy of deviation. There are different kinds of fallacies, and the first type of fallacy is the fallacy of deviation. This is where things get important for us, because we are in the business of pointing out all the deviations, is it not? So, what is the fallacy of deviation? In Sanskrit, this is called savya bichara hetu. And what is it? The prover is not consistently linked to the thing that you're trying to prove. I'll give you a small, very easy analogy to understand this. For example, there is a Bugatti outside, therefore my mom must be here. Of course, lots of people drive Bugattis, but the sign is too broad. It deviates from pointing only to your mother. It could be any other person, right? Maybe another person parked a Bugatti outside and it's not necessarily your mother. So why does it fail? There's no reliable vyapti. So basically, this is pervasion or concomitance. And this is the fallacy of deviation. The prover is not consistently linked to the thing you're trying to prove. Actually, Bugatti was a bit of a bad example because not many people drive Bugattis. Let's take a more common car, Toyota. There's a Toyota outside. My mother must be there. Of course, lots of people drive Toyotas, so the sign is too broad. That's why it deviates from pointing only to your mother. Right? Anyway, that's the fallacy of deviation. Savya bhichara hetu. The second type of fallacy is the fallacy of contradiction. Viruddha hetu. And what is it? The prover actually supports the opposite of your conclusion. For example, Jones wasn't kind because he gave his life for others. Now, self-sacrifice is a sign of kindness, not a denial of it. So why does this fail? The hetu directly undermines the sadhya. That's the fallacy of contradiction, viruddha hetu. Then the fallacy of unestablishment, asiddha hetu. And what is this? The prover is not even present in the subject. For example, your mother must be in town because I saw a Prius outside or a Toyota outside. But your mother doesn't even own a Toyota, so the sign isn't really there. And so why does this fail? There is no actual hetu in the paksha, subject. Then the fourth type of fallacy is a rebutted inference, badhita hetu. This is basically a more powerful knowledge source that contradicts your inference. For example, my friend must be out of town. He hasn't answered his phone. But I just saw him at the coffee shop. So perception with a stronger pramana rebuts the inference. I'll repeat this example again because this is one of the very important examples. For example, my friend must be out of town. He hasn't answered his phone. But if I just saw him at, say, a coffee shop or somewhere, then perception, which is a stronger pramana, a stronger proof, stronger evidence, rebuts the inference. So why does this fail? The higher authority of pramana, like perception, trumps the inference. That is called rebutted inference, badhita hetu. Then the final type, a counterbalanced inference, sat pratipaksha. Basically, this is just a strong opposing argument that exists. For example, biological teleology proves God. That's one statement. Biological teleology proves God. But then another statement might come. Gratuitous evil disproves God. Gratuitous evil disproves God. So each undermines the certainty of the other, leaving the original inference neutralized. So why does this fail? The conclusion is not indefeasibly established because a competing vyapti exists. Does that make sense? If I give one statement and someone gives another statement that neutralizes it, then it fails because there is a competing argument. So we have to be able to give arguments that don't have a competing vyapti. Right? So just think of this like courtroom logic, just to simplify things. Basically, a good inference needs evidence reliably linked to the claim, a real connection, meaning the evidence actually exists in this case. There's no better source of knowledge disproving it, and there's no opposing arguments of equal strength. So if it fails on any of these any of those accounts, it's a pseudo prover, hetvabhasa, appearing valid but logically defective. Right? I think this makes sense to everyone that are present, at least. Now we get
Yes,
into, now we get into the real thing, the juice. This is about suppositional reasoning, tarka. And tarka shows how Nyaya is not just about airtight syllogisms, but also about intelligently weighing what makes most sense given what we already know. So, what is tarka? Tarka is suppositional, dialectical, or reductio style reasoning. It's not a pramana, which is an independent means of knowledge in itself, but it's a helper. Tarka is a helper. It's a pramana anugrahaka, supporting other pramanas by testing coherence and weeding out false claims. So how does tarka work? So when faced with two competing theories, X versus Y, tarka basically just asks the question, if X were true, what unacceptable or absurd consequences would follow? So if X leads to contradictions or violates deep metaphysical or moral assumptions, we reject X and lean towards Y. Just think of it like a philosophical stress test. Which idea breaks under pressure? Right? And I'll give you a nice example from Vatsyayana himself. The topic is the self, the soul, produced, meaning born in time, or eternal? Is the soul eternal or temporary? Now, suppose someone says the self is produced. Let's say the soul is born. Then the Nayayika replies, if so, karma from past lives couldn't influence one's birth in this life, there'd be no continuity. So this breaks a widely accepted doctrine, karma and rebirth, which most Vedic schools hold sacred. Therefore, the view that the self is eternal gains presumptive strength. Understand? And the key feature is that of negative coherence. Tarka's strength lies in exposing incoherence, logical inconsistencies, violations of metaphysical norms, and clashes with well-established beliefs. Basically, it's a process of elimination, not direct discovery. And I'll give you a very nice example of this by an analogy. How many of you have fire alarms in your home or in your building? Yes, Sami Prabhu. Oh, okay, you have.
Yes, Prabhu.
You have
Don't have.
a fire alarm in your building. I think others also do. Okay, I don't know. Shakti Prabhu does.
No, Prabhu. No.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let me get on to the analogy. Imagine two suspects for setting off the alarm. Let's say you catch two people that are suspected that they set off the fire alarm. Now, Tarka doesn't catch the culprit red-handed because that's perception or inference. But Tarka says, if he had done it, then why is the fire alarm still working perfectly? So that's absurd. So suspect A is ruled out and B gets the presumptive nod, basically. So bottom line is, Tarka helps us filter out implausible views by showing how they lead to unacceptable consequences. It's not a direct source of truth, but it's a very powerful eliminative tool in the Nyaya philosopher's toolkit. Then we go on to analogical reasoning. Analogical reasoning in Sanskrit is called upaman, as understood in Nyaya. So here's the definition of analogical reasoning or upaman from the Nyaya Sutra 1.1.6. Analogy makes an object known by similarity with something already known. That is analogy, analogical reasoning, upaman. I'll repeat this verse from the Nyaya Sutra 1.1.6. Analogy makes an object known by similarity with something already known. This is the pramana of learning by comparison especially useful in vocabulary learning or concept acquisition when encountering something for the first time. I'll give you a very nice classical example of this. Buffalo versus cow. Let's say someone tells you a water buffalo looks like a cow. You'll find them in the countryside. Now later in the countryside, you see an unfamiliar animal. You notice, this looks like a cow. This must be a water buffalo. Now your knowledge that this is a water buffalo arises from testimony, what someone told you earlier, perception, what you're seeing now, and similarity, cow-like features. So that final identification is called upaman, similarity. So what makes this so special? What's so special about this? So the Naiyayikas argue that this kind of cognition is sui generis. I don't know if this is French, please forgive me. But a unique way of knowing that can't be fully reduced to just testimony or perception. This kind of cognition is a unique way of knowing that can't be fully reduced to just testimony or perception. Why? Because neither by itself would tell you that this new thing is that thing I was told about. If you just look at the two by itself, what you heard and what you saw, by themselves, neither would tell you that this new thing is that thing I was told about. And there are other schools also. Prabhupada even mentions this in his books. Other schools like Mimamsa argue that it's just a function of recognizing similarity in general, not a separate pramana. But Nyaya insists that it's a distinct epistemic moment, naming or identifying a thing by analogy. Does that make sense? How many of you know Pokemon?
Yes,
Okay, you know Pokemon. Gaurav Prabhu also, you know Pokemon? Okay, Neil also knows Pokemon. Okay, a lot of you know Pokemon. So imagine someone tells you that Pikachu looks like a mouse. It looks like a kind of mouse, but it's yellow and it shoots electricity. So then you play Pokemon, for example, on screen, and you see a yellow mousy looking thing sparking with energy. So you exclaim, oh, that's Pikachu. So that's Upaman in action. I could have given a better example, but this is all I came up with in that moment. So please forgive me. If you have a better example, please let me know. I would actually prefer better examples because this is a bit too materialistic. But anyway, there are some use cases and limits also. And so, for example, this Upaman is used primarily for first-time recognition of unfamiliar objects or terms. And it's also basically just used for acquiring new words based on known likenesses. But it's not used for broad causal inference or deep philosophical arguments. It's narrow in scope, but it's valid and unique. That much is known. So basically, the bottom line is Upaman is basically learning through comparison, and it gives rise to a unique kind of knowledge. So this familiar thing is that kind of thing I was told about because it looks like what I was told it would look like. So it's a very small but powerful member of the Pramana family, essentially. Okay. Then there is something called testimony, which is also very important. Shabda. In Sanskrit, testimony is called Shabda. And it is known as a Nyaya Pramana. So the definition from the Nyaya Sutra itself, 1.1.5, testimony is the assertion of a qualified speaker. This is where we have to focus a little bit more now. This Pramana covers knowledge gained by hearing from others, especially from those who are credible or trustworthy. Now, who counts as a qualified speaker? Apta. The speaker must know the truth firsthand, typically through perception or inference, and two, convey it without distortion, exaggeration, or deceit. But here's the important nuance. You don't need proof of the speaker's trustworthiness. It's enough that there's no good reason to doubt them. So Nyaya's view is actually very pragmatic. Unless you have doubt, you can accept. So what makes testimony work? what makes testimony work? Think of it as a knowledge transmission. Let's say person A gains knowledge either via pratyaksha or anuman. Then person A communicates that knowledge honestly. Then person B, who is an epistemically responsible listener, receives valid knowledge, prama. So this makes testimony second-hand, but still valid. A full pramana, not a lesser form. It's a full pramana. So what are the sources behind testimony? Now, two well-known Nyaya philosophers, Udyotakar and Jayanta, point out that every valid testimonial statement ultimately traces back to either perception. For example, the pot is on the table because someone saw it, or inference. For example, there will be rain based on dark clouds. So Shabda is like a relay race of pramanas. Shabda or testimony is like a relay race of pramanas. For example, our disciplic succession is one such example, right? Receiving perfect knowledge through perfect sources in a chain, right? That is Shabda. And because it is transcendental Shabda, it is called Shabda Brahman. Prabhupada uses this term, Shabda Brahman. And here are some real life examples, for example. For example, a train arrives at 5 p.m. You trust the official who's saying this because he works at the train station. Or sugar dissolves in water. The science teacher says so. Or there is a festival in the village today, told by a local. So even the Vedas are considered testimony, divine Shabda, Shabda Brahma, from perfect aptas, givers. Yes? And there are special features of testimony. There's scope, meaning there is a vast, this is the vastest actually. Testimony is the vastest among all pramanas because it covers the widest ground. And in everyday use, as Vatsalyan notes, people run almost all daily affairs on Shabda. And also efficiency because it saves time and energy. We don't need to verify everything ourselves. And it's dependent on other things, but it's valid. It relies on others, but delivers genuine, accurate knowledge. So I'll give you a comparison with other pramanas. Let's say you're taking perception as a pramana. This involves seeing, hearing, etc. directly. And what are the limitations? Well, it's limited to what's present, right? What you're seeing, just that. It's limited to just that. Then inference. If you take inference as another praman, then what you're doing is it involves deriving from signs or causes. And this requires valid logic. Then analogy is another pramana. It's so learning by comparing similarities. So it's a bit narrow, limitation-wise, because it's mostly used for learning than debating. Okay. Then testimony is when you're learning from the other person's assertions. But of course, the limitation is that it relies on the speaker's honesty. That is the limitation. So the bottom line is Shabda means learning through words. So when a trustworthy speaker shares truths with sincerity and a responsible listener receives it without reasonable doubt, the resulting knowledge is prama, valid and actionable. And in fact, as Udyotakar himself rightly puts it, testimony gives us more knowledge than any other praman could. Right? And of course, there is something else one has to understand as well. There is something called non-praman epistemic capacities in the Nyaya Sutras. What are non-praman epistemic capacities? These are mental or epistemic tools that help us in knowing things but aren't pramanas in their own right. And these appear in the Nyaya Sutra 2.2.1 to 12. So why aren't these considered pramanas? There are two main reasons. The first is redundancy. They're already covered under existing pramanas. For example, guessing something from similarity, that's a case of analogy. Then the second reason why they're not considered pramanas is because of invalid output. They don't produce prama, or in other words, truth yielding veridical cognition like doubt, memory, or error. They're mental functions, but they don't give us new knowledge by themselves. And the key idea is that only 4 are irreducible. Nyaya insists that only these 4 are real independent pramanas: perception or pratyaksha, inference, anumana, analogy, upamana, and testimony, shabda. Everything else is either part of one of these or fails to meet the standard for valid knowledge. So I'll give you examples of non-pramana epistemic capacities. Let's say the capacity you want to look at is doubt, samshaya. Doubt means samshaya. And why is it not a pramana? Because it is uncertain. It doesn't give definitive knowledge. Then the next capacity is hypothesis, tarka, your original claim, which you want to prove. But why is this not a pramana? Because it only supports pramanas. It doesn't produce knowledge on its own. Then, if you're looking at memory or smriti, it's not a pramana because it's a recollection of old knowledge, which is not fresh knowledge. Right? It's a recollection of old knowledge, but not fresh knowledge. Then, if you're looking at error, viparyaya, it delivers false cognition, so it's not a valid knowledge, it's not a pramana. Then finally, presumption, arthapatti. So Nyaya reduces it to inference basically. That's why it's not a pramana, because Nyaya reduces it to inference. And there are other schools like Mimamsa and Vedanta. They do count arthapatti or anupalabdhi as pramanas, but Nyaya doesn't. So the takeaway is that Nyaya draws a strict line. If it produces fresh true cognition and it can't be reduced to another source, it's a pramana. And if it's supportive, secondary, or faulty, it's not. So this keeps the Nyaya epistemology lean and rigorous. Then we have something called general knowledge of theory. It's basically a causal theory of knowledge, Nyaya. So basically, Nyaya sees knowledge or prama as something that arises due to a cause. The word pramana literally means that by which one knows. So pramana means knowledge cause. So what is a pramana? According to Vatsyayana, pramana is that by which something is properly known. And according to Udyottakar, pramana is the cause of a veridical condition, cognition. Upalabdhi hetu. So pramana isn't just a method. It's a real causal link that generates true cognition. And it's not just theory, it works automatically. Even if you're not thinking reflectively or philosophizing, if the pramana is working properly, like your eyes seeing something, and there's no contrary evidence, then you have knowledge. This is realist and externalist. The focus is on whether the cognition was caused properly, not on whether you introspectively check its validity. Okay? So the concept of pramana is that it's a cause that produces true cognition, prama. Cognition or prama is a true knowledge-yielding awareness episode. Focus is a causal correctness, not introspective certainty. An example can include, for example, seeing a cow, hearing testimony, etc. that give you true beliefs. And what about a reflective check as a concept? A reflective check is actually not required. If there are no defeaters, the pramana automatically gives knowledge. So Nyaya's approach is simple and powerful. If the cause is good, the cognition is good. So knowledge doesn't need doubt or justification unless something challenges it. You understand? And to this, there are internalist constraints also. So while Nyaya is generally causal and externalist, it still acknowledges that once doubt enters, reflective validation becomes necessary. So when does this happen? When there is adversarial challenge, someone questions your belief, there's peer disagreement, and there's internal inconsistency between your own beliefs. So in such cases, Nyaya insists where there is doubt, there must be ongoing examination. This is Nyaya Sutra 217. Where there is doubt, there must be ongoing examination. So what is the role of doubt? According to Udyottakar, doubt or samshaya is part of the investigation process, vichara anga. So doubt isn't just a nuisance, it triggers epistemic responsibility. And what happens after doubt? You must validate your cognition. Reflect on how the belief arose. Was the pramana working properly? And you use other pramanas like inference and testimony, for example, to cross-check the belief. This is called pramana samplava, convergence of knowledge sources. Even Bhattacharya also gives a practical pointer. If your belief leads to successful action, it's probably true. If your belief leads to successful action, it's probably true. This isn't a definition of truth, but a heuristic test. For example, if acting on this belief helps me serve prasadam successfully, it's likely valid. So if you look at the element of trigger, it's basically doubt. The trigger is doubt due to challenge or conflict or peer disagreement. Then requirement means reflective examination of the cognition's origin. Goal is to confirm that it came from a reliable pramana. That's the goal. And the tool, what is the tool? You use other pramanas to support. You use other pramanas to support. This is called pramana samplava. And then there's a pragmatic hint. Cognitions that lead to successful action are probably true, as per Bhattacharya. So the key takeaway is that whenever there is no doubt, when there's no doubt, Nyaya trusts the causal process. But when doubt arises, Nyaya demands investigation, basically. Then there is a relational theory also. A relational theory of cognition. Vishayata. So Nyaya doesn't treat cognition as a mere representation, but rather as a relation. A real connection between the knower, the cognition, and the object known. So what is cognition? There are some terms used also. For example, jnana, buddhi, apalabdhi, pratyaya. So cognition basically is an awareness event of something real, usually external. Cognition is also a property, a guna of the Atman, the self, the Jivatma. Cognition is generally directed at something other than itself. Other than itself. Of course, an exception is there. Apperception is there. Because you cognize your own mental state. And memory arises when latent impressions are triggered. So how does cognition grasp an object? Through a relation called Vishayata, objecthood. This gives us not just a picture of the world, it's a contact with it. Cognition is not just a picture of the world, it's a contact with it. So what is the structure of cognition? Every veridical cognition has a threefold structure. The first portion of cognition is substantive portion. And the target is the object itself. For example, a man. Another portion of cognition is qualificative portion, which is a property of the object. For example, masculinity. And relational portion, the target of which is the relation between the object and the property. Basically, this is how you can see someone and judge, this is a man, this is a woman, this is that. So veridical cognition or prama, as defined by Gangesha, another Nyaya philosopher, is that a cognitive state with predication context X about something in fact qualified by X. Very, very complicated to understand, but the point is, I'll give you an example. For example, you see John and you say, this is a man. Or you say, this is His Grace Gaura Shakti Prabhu, he is a pure devotee. So what is the substantive? His Grace Gaura Shakti Prabhu. And the property is devoteehood. So John actually is a man, or His Grace Gaura Shakti Prabhu is a pure devotee. This is a veridical cognition. It's a veridical cognition. Then there is error, mithya jnana. Nyaya diagnoses cognitive error as a misfire in the property targeting part. So you correctly see the object, but you falsely attribute a property. So the cognition's intentionality is split. It locks onto a real object, but it attaches a wrong property. For example, you mistake a rope for a snake. This is a common example given in Vedic literature, even in Prabhupada's books also. You're mistaking a rope for a snake. The rope is a correct substantive, but the snake is an incorrect property. So the rope is not actually a snake. That's the error. So what is cognition? It's a property of the Jivatma, the self, directed at an object. Objecthood or Vishayata is real relation between cognition and object. Then cognition, the structure of cognition is it targets object, property, and their relation. A veridical cognition or prama is the property that truly belongs to the object. An error or mithya jnana is a wrong property assigned to a correct object. And is it representational or is it relational? It is relational. Make sense? Or no?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Are there any questions now? Now that we have come to the end of the presentation. Any questions?
Too deep.
It's not a question.
Okay, at least someone can give me a summary.
Prabhu, what about perception when someone can see ghosts and someone can't? So what is the difference in the senses?
That is also pramana. Because if you're seeing it, you're making a direct connection with it.
Yes, Prabhu.
Right? Of course, ghosts are not always seen, but they can be seen sometimes. It's possible. Prabhupada saw a ghost. Sundar Gopal Prabhu saw a ghost. Nimananda Prabhu saw a ghost. He made a vlog about it.
Yes,
And
Prabhu.
when Nimananda Prabhu made that vlog about it and he posted it to YouTube, we are hearing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's also
So which one
pramana.
is that? Oh, yeah.
If we
Okay.
agree that His Grace Nimananda Prabhu is a truthful person, then we can accept it as praman. Because he said it, therefore we accept it. No.
Yes,
Why
Prabhu.
are we- Right? So this is called testimony. He's giving his testimony that he saw a ghost and we heard it from him. That's testimony.
But he had to be truthful, like
Yes.
we can trust him.
And we can trust him. We know him. We
Yes.
know him as a person. We know his sincere attitude towards Srila Prabhupada. That's a very nice example, actually, Swami Prabhu gave. Very nice. Give it a good challenge.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Any other questions?
And I don't know if it's related, but what about the attachment that the person have, even if you are able to convince him? With logic, the person will have some attachment with, especially ISKCON, they will have some attachment, because the time that they serve with and the relation that they have. So even if you convince him with logic, still there is this point, right, that they are unable to join us or new thing because attachment.
Yes, because of the sentimental beliefs that they've gained already.
Yes.
So that is
Yeah.
actually very interesting. And this is why I made it very clear that one has to receive knowledge from the perfect source. And this is why I know for a fact that ISKM is doing correct. Why? Because we are keeping Prabhupada's teachings in the center. Because Prabhupada is a perfect soul. He is a perfect person. And he is the proper person from whom we must receive knowledge. So we are only quoting Prabhupada. That is what makes our position a lot stronger in terms of pramana than theirs, because they are going not on pramana but on sentimentality. You see, you have to accept and quote Prabhupada. In fact, in Chaitanya Charitamrita translates one verse. What is that verse actually? I'll show you that verse. I'll share this verse actually. Everyone should see it.
Luvesh Prabhu, everything that you teaching, Does it come from the CC?
No. But I took a bit of inspiration from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and I gave you this topic just so you can at least understand what is what when you enter a debate, you see.
Oh, yes, Prabhu.
So you can argue properly. Because most people, they don't know how to debate,
Yes,
including
Prabhu.
myself. So I took a bit of responsibility and learned a little bit what is the proper Vedic procedure for debate. So I haven't gotten
Okay.
to the debate part itself yet. But I have at least accumulated a basic standard of notes that are
Oh,
required
yes.
for me to understand how then to debate.
Okay, Prabhu.
So Labhan Prabhu, you want to read this?
Yes, no problem. Okay, should I read the Sanskrit as well? Or is it
Yes,
the
please do.
Purva Paryo Madhye Param Vidi Balavan. Translation: between the former rule and the latter rule, the latter is more important.
So now when we see so many of Prabhupada's statements, I want you all to become guru, I'm training you all to become guru, this, that. But in the end, he gave a July 9th directive, which is a ritual system of initiations that has to continue even after his departure. Okay, but let's take it for granted that even, it doesn't mention that it has to follow after his departure or not. We still have to accept it because as here, the latter is more important. But Prabhupada says, now you do that. I don't know where that verse is. No,
So, Prabhu.
What are you searching?
You know that quote, Prabhu, where Prabhupada says, sir, you said me like this before. But no, what I order you now, you do that.
Yes, Prabhu, CC Andhya 820.
Where is it?
CC Andhya Lila 880. 880. 880.
Okay. This one basically, right?
Is it there?
C Andhya 880. This is the one. Or is it a lecture on that verse?
Yeah, it's that one.
Luvesh Prabhu.
No, but like Prabhupada was saying, that when I order you do something now, you do that. You cannot say, oh, sir, you said me like this before. That quote by Prabhupada, I want that one.
I think I have it also. One second.
Okay, I'll wait. Or maybe I can actually just search on Google.
Yes, Prabhu.
Forgot to type Prabhupada.
Luvesh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
I saw you created, what do you call this, a Reddit account. Like, what is actually happening there, Prabhu? Like, in terms of preaching.
I'll explain that soon. It's basically just a subreddit where you can post everything Prabhupada related.
Okay, yes.
Just, like that. Whenever you feel like you want to post something there, you can.
Or like slokas and everything.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yes. Can you all see?
Yes, it's better one.
Who would like to read?
Bon Prabhu, perhaps we still.
Yes, I can do.
Yes, please.
Prabhupada, I may say many things to you, but when I say something directly, do it. Your first duty is to do that. You cannot argue. Sir, you said me like this before. No, that is not your duty. What I say now, you do it. That is obedience. You cannot argue. Of course, Krishna never said anything contradictory. But if when one thinks foolishly that Krishna said something contradictory, no, that is not to be. Not to be, yes. You could not understand. So even though you could not understand, you take my direct orders now. Sarva Dharman Parititya Mam E. Oh, Bhagavad Gita 18.66. That is your business. The master says like that. And the servant's business is to accept it as it is. without any argument. That's all.
So now you
I
see,
think
Krishna gave so many instructions from chapter 1 to chapter 18, right?
Yes.
But he gave an order, actually. More than an instruction, he gave an order at the very end.
Mm.
Sarva dharma parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shubha. So, Krishna may have said many things, but what he says, now we do that. We completely surrender unto him. And we make him the ultimate shelter. Vayam
Actually, this is the most important verse, you know, those last verse that he spoke.
Yes.
The order. Yeah. So this is the point actually. We have to address them, the last order of Srila Prabhupada. The last order is the most important order.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
We're not
But
reading
then,
Prabhupada's books.
yeah, but then it can immediately trigger the sincere one and those who want to be cheated. Because if they are sincere, they will, even if they are attached, there will be a conflict, you know. They will say, oh, I don't follow Prabhupada. So they will be in a dilemma. But if they are not sincere, they will still say that, oh, you know, they will find something, even if they can't argue, but they will find something to just justify that they will not leave. They will still stay in ISKCON like this.
Yes,
So it's a good way to just make things more, how to say that, our job more easy. Like if there are some sincere person who can be resonate by logic, okay, we can possibly, you know, we can preach to them, and we can immediately trigger them by giving them the last order, the last instruction of Srila Prabhupada, and of course we will try to apply logic. Then they will not be able to argument, and you know, but the main thing is that we can trigger, okay, this person is sincere, so perhaps he had the chance, depend on Krishna then. But those who are not sincere, immediately they will oppose, you know, even if they have no argument, but they will find something to justify, you know, just to say, okay, I can't defeat you with argument, with logic, but I will not leave ISKCON, you know, because actually it's not possible for me to do that in my condition now. You know, he is more like someone who wants to be cheated, and this is the main thing in ISKCON. Most of them want to be cheated. To put it very plain, it's like this: they want that because they can't follow the strict regulation. So they want to have some easy path, you know, if we can say like that, spiritual path. They want to do it like they want, you know, just like the Bhagavad Gita as it is. But why as it is? Because Acharya is like this. They cannot they cannot say something else. Predecessor Acharya said like this, Krishna said like this. They have to, you know, this is the disciplic succession, this is parampara. But they are not like this, you know. They will concoct something. They will say, oh, but you know, now it's like this, and you know, we have this, we have that. So this is the society of cheaters. So now you make a wonderful presentation. Thank you for that. Actually, there are some points that I need to contemplate to really apply it in my debate. If somehow I can debate with some ISKCON member, but it's not very hard to convince them actually. But we cannot change their inclination to being cheated. We cannot change that because this is from the beginning, you know, from the, I don't know, the karma, I don't know how it has many possibilities, but this is something that is very, very hard to actually overcome. They have an inclination to be cheated and to cheat others. So they are not very sincere as a devotee. As a devotee, you should be truthful. Should not be like you cheat others and, you know, speaking lies like this. So it's not, they are not reliable, you know, we cannot trust for my experience. When I talk with them, even with logic, their face, the you know, at the moment you know that they are speaking lie. They don't want to listen to you, even if you apply logic, you know, even if you try to make it very logical. And the last thing that you said about, yeah, testimony, and it should be, it has to come from some truthful person, the most truthful person that you know. That's Srila Prabhupada is no doubt, you know, he's the most truthful. But now we can see that now I know if I give them the last order, and this is why I try to work on the, still we are in process, you know, the translation in French of the IA 77, so that I can go with this book and full knowledge of this book, of course. You know, we have to memorize everything in it so that we can argument properly. But when I go with this book, I go with His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu, His Grace Savavid Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada, all of them, you know. And then it's very hard for them to just deny. It's like impossible, but they will do other things. They will cheat, you know, themselves and Srila Prabhupada and the whole system. So yeah, it's helpful. We will, especially me, I will try to apply that everything that you said. You know, this is really helpful. But if they cannot, you know, accept with sincerity Srila Prabhupada's last instruction, is because they will never change. At least in this life, you know, there had to be some purification process so that in future life, or I don't know what Krishna will plan for them, but it's like impossible, you know, because they are so delusional, and actually they want to be cheated. It's more easy for them to follow. It's hard to say like that, but this is the truth, you know. This is the truth, especially here, you know, and I think everywhere it's like this, you know. For them, it's not, they are hiding behind Prabhupada, because Prabhupada is the truth, you know, is the Acharya, and they're hiding behind him, but they are doing completely opposite thing. So it's, I don't want to say that word, but it's quite demoniac.
I know. It's true. In fact, what you just spoke about, it is actually
Yeah.
spoken. It's like you can argue sometimes, you can tell them that, see, real Praman as per Shastra, because you can literally quote, because I gave you the lecture. Now you can quote.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can tell them that Praman is this is not Praman, this is Praman, this is not Praman. Now you can say,
Mm.
tell them that, you can quote this first of all. You can say that if a Brahmana is not truthful, all his claims as a Brahmana at once become null and void. If a sannyasi
Mm.
is illicitly connected with women, all his claims as a sannyasi at once become false. So now
False. Mm.
what I say is, because your so-called gurus fell down, then anyone that comes after that, we also cannot trust, which means you cannot quote them and say that it's Pramana. But we are quoting Prabhupada's books, it's Pramana. So when you tell them that it
Mm.
says this, it's like that, then you can say, yes, what we are showing is Pramana. What you are showing is not Pramana because your own gurus fell down. It may not be exactly your guru, but anyone who comes after that also is tainted. Anyone
Yes,
that,
it's connected. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, anyone that the GBC elects, so-called, then yes, that is also false. You cannot accept as Praman. So I want Praman from them. And they cannot give, of course, because now the whole ISKCON family is tainted with falsity, falsehood.
Yeah. Yes,
Lies,
yes, yes. True.
you see.
Yes. And this is the main thing.
And here you see,
So
the four
we
leaders
have
of civil society, namely the sannyasis, the Brahmana, the king, and the public leader, must be tested crucially by their character and qualification. So before
yes, yes.
one can be accepted as a spiritual or material master of society, he must be tested by the above mentioned criteria of character.
Mm.
You see,
Mm.
so they are falling, which means they were not free to even begin with. Being free really means that you cannot be affected by those things. Being free from, lust, anger, greed, all that. If you're free
Yes,
from that, then
of
yes,
course.
that definitely you are. But if you fell from that position, that means you were never even ready to begin with.
Yes, you were never there. Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting and very nice actually too. Thank you for this presentation, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your effort to
This was just a humble
understand.
attempt at, this was just a
Yes, I
humble
know.
attempt at trying to
Yes,
bring
because
something that
it
is very
has
obscure into the light.
it
Yeah.
has to be, uh, you know, you can go more deep. I know, but it's already it's already very deep for us, and but overall, I understand the essence of it, and we have to quote very strongly, and of course, Prabhupada, and it will help us to defeat the arguments of the opposite camps. So the main thing is that we need to read more and more, increase our reading, and increase our, studying of Srila Prabhupada book, and even IA 77 book also. We have to know this book by heart. So this is very important. Because it will make us more, like you said, truthful. Brahman should be like that. Sannyas or every reliable authority should be truthful. And how to be truthful is if you don't speak as it is, and we have to speak as it is, and follow Srila Prabhupada teaching. So yes, it it confirmed what I have realized. I don't know if realization but I need to read more and more. How to say that? Scrutinizingly, yeah. Like Prabhupada said that we need to know his book just like the law. How to say that? The law book. We have to know all those things by heart, you know, if we can, because it will help us to become much more truthful, you know, and much more knowledgeable. And actually, even if they want to say something, and they will avoid us, just like His Grace Sunagopal Prabhu when he was in Reunion Island. I tried to invite so many members of ISKCON, but none of them came. None of them. And I just said, you know, it's not just like you will have some argument, and just try to discuss with him, you know. He was so eager to meet them, but none of them came, you know, because they know. They know that they will meet some very heavy fighter. This is not some light, you know, lightweight fighter. This is very heavyweight fighter. So yeah, this is helpful for us to realize the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's book. Of course, we have to preach, but our preaching will not be efficient if we don't read enough and if we don't follow as it is everything, because we will not have the purity. And this is the most important.
Yes,
We
Prabhu.
have to become pure. And this is what it's all about. Why we trust Srila Prabhupada? Because he's a pure devotee. No doubt about it. He's pure. Everything he said is purity. So when he said, without purity, we have no power, you know, and it's true. So we have to become more strong by becoming more pure. So thank you for that. And yeah, I don't, you know, I'm not like very, how to say that, intellectual. Like I don't go, I never went to college and all those things, but now I am in the, even if I never went there, Krishna somehow accept me through Srila Prabhupada to the best school ever, spiritual school, and ISKM University. And this is something that I always amazed, you know. I never went so far in school and that, you know, but, and this is my, perhaps, my good fortune, because this is not school, this is a slaughterhouse. But now I am in the best school ever. Spiritual, transcendental knowledge. And I can do the comparison. It's like you shared, it's based on qualification, characteristic that you acquire with with tapasya, austerity, with, you know, you have to shed blood, you know. In our spiritual life, we have to force ourselves to do or to redo what we did before. Before that, we was conditioned in a certain way. So now we have to build another condition. That is our original condition, but we have to reclaim it. And how to reclaim it if we don't at least force ourselves? Because sometimes the mind will say, oh no, don't do this, you know. The mind will always prefer the place where there is no austerity, no penance, no things like that. The mind wants to stick to the same thing again and again, you know, because this is the most easy thing for him. to follow. So yeah, I think especially for me, it resonates a lot. So I want to thank you. I want to thank all of the devotees that attend this session. So we have to become much more serious in our sadhana, especially me, by realizing that we are on the way. We are on the way to become much more pure. But if we don't follow strictly, then what Srila Prabhupada can do? Actually, we will end up just like those sannyasi, so-called sannyasi in ISKCON. We will fall down because we don't follow strictly, even if we are sincere enough to understand and to accept his last order. But still, we have to follow everything that he said. It shouldn't be like, oh, I am in the camp of, Ridvik, Ridvik camp. So Srila Prabhupada likes me more. No, it's not like that. You still have to follow everything. You still have to do everything that he said. Otherwise, what he can do for you. This is the method. The method to be free from Maya, to be more, to be at the lotus feet of pure Vaishnava. So directly at the feet of Krishna. No difference. There is no difference between. Actually, the pure Vaishnava is even more than Krishna. Krishna is glorifying the pure Vaishnava, especially in the Canto 3, with the story of the four Kumala, and when they go to they went to Vaikuntha, and then the Lord, they were offended by Jai and Vijay, but this was a plane of this was the supreme plane of the Lord. But then after that, the Lord Himself intervened to take the responsibility, and He glorified the Brahmana. He glorified them, and He said, "Even I, the Supreme Lord, will put the dust of the lotus feet of my devotee, Brahmana or Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava, and will take and put on my head, So the Supreme Lord, Krishna, will take the dust at the feet of the Vaishnava and put on his head. So why we are chanting Namo Brahmaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadetaya Krishna Govindaya Namo Namaha? Why we are chanting that? Because he is really the one who is protecting not only the car, but the whole Brahmana, But we have to become real Brahmana, not imitation or so-called. We should not imitate what they are doing in ISKCON. So we should be very, very serious in ISKCON. So this is the qualification to be in ISKCON, is to be serious, is to follow everything as it is. So that Srila Prabhupada will build through ISKCON the real example of purity. If everyone is following as it is, Srila Prabhupada, without compromising, then ISKCON will be pure enough to take over. And ISKCON will have no choice than to follow. Because they will see that, okay, now there is no doubt, they are all pure. What can you say when you see someone who is not contradictory with the word and his mind? Everything is pure. Everything is. You cannot say anything. You can reject, but you cannot find fault. So a Vaishnav is like this. You can't find fault in a Vaishnav. You cannot. He's faultless. So this is the point, Prabhus. We have to become much more serious in our sadhana, especially like His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada said, in the morning. The morning is when we can become, imbibe those quality, divine quality, not in the Rajagun and Tamagun. Otherwise, we will stay demoniac with demoniac quality. So we need to think about it, contemplate, how much I want to follow Prabhupada, how much I believe in Prabhupada, I have faith in him, how much my faith is for him. Because discipline is very important. Without that, obedience, discipline, this is what we need to have. Otherwise, we cannot make any progress, It's not possible. So I realize this myself now more, should be very, very strict in our sadhana. Even if they have no senior to check us, actually, this is not like this. The Paramatma is within us. Srila Prabhupada is always with us. Always.
Thank you
Don't
so
think
much.
that he is not with us. He is. As if you follow everything as it is and you try, even if sometimes you fall down, even if sometimes you not really fall down, but if sometimes you can't, but he will help you. If you try to help yourself, if you try to fight, at least try to fight. I know it's hard to wake up in the morning sometime, especially in the beginning, but at least try. Try to do so. Try to set an alarm and try to do it. To say no to your mind. I will wake up and I will chant some round, and I will. You need to do that. Even ourselves, like if we consider that, okay, now I am chanting 16 round, I understand some of the philosophy, I preach online or even outdoor, I preach. So you can think that, okay, I'm making some progress, but you shouldn't think like that. This is not the proper attitude. Proper attitude is that we must be humble. And obedience is the first thing. So we have to be obedient. Okay, Srila Prabhupada said that we must always attend Mangalarati every morning. We have to wake up 4 a.m. period. 4 a.m. wake up. So how we can convince others that this Ritvik instruction is true if ourselves we compromise in that order to wake up in the morning 4 a.m. and to attend Mangalarati, even to chant our round. It's contradictory and it will not work, because they will see that they are not true, they are false. So it's just like we explained, so it will collapse. So we need to be pure. And how to be pure? First thing, we have to become obedient to the spiritual master. Okay, spiritual master said that we have to do that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And even if in the beginning it's hard and you can't really do it, it's okay. You go to the motion, you try to do it. And with the sincerity of your attempt, then Srila Prabhupada will help you. Krishna will help you. Because Srila Prabhupada will intervene in your favor. Yasya prasadam bhagavat prasadam, yasya prasadam nagati kutopi. So this is the whole meaning of that. When you try, then you see your sincerity. And then when you see your sincerity, your endeavor to work and to follow what he left for us, the method that he left for us, then he help you. Just like a father. If the father don't see that, okay, he just lazy, he don't try, every time he said lip service, he said something, but the action is not, with the word, So we have to put everything, the action, word, mind, everything should be together. Everything should be together. We cannot only lip service, when there is association of devotee, I talk like this. But when the association of devotee is finished, then rascal mind is coming, and we cannot be like this. This is duplicity. This is duplicity. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate the most. He really don't like that. A devotee shouldn't be should not be like that. So I will always encourage everyone to do so, because I see for myself the change when I decide to not compromise on that order. No matter what, you should attend Mangalarti.
Otherwise,
No
the
matter
person is not
what.
serious. If he doesn't
Yeah.
attend Mangalarti, if he doesn't wake up early in the morning, that's how you know he's not serious. Very easy way to see.
Yes.
someone.
Yes. You see? He said like this. Then it's a test. It's the test.
That's the test.
And His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu said the same thing to me.
Exactly, yes.
The same thing you said now. And this is Srila Prabhupada. He
Yes.
said, you know how you can make devotee? If you induce them to come to your Mangalarti every morning, and if they come, then they are serious. Then you know that you can count on them till the end, because a devotee that attend Mangalarti, he is serious about his spiritual life. Yeah, and I know that, but it comes from His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu.
Yes.
So just like we discussed now, it has more truth, more purity in it. When He said this to you, then you just face the reality immediately. Okay, this is what we should do. So now I am more like, I try to become consistent in it, because He showed me at his age, that 1 a.m., 2 a.m., he will be up and he will chant his round. He will go take his bath, and then he will chant his round. So inspirational. So inspirational. I was able to see this by these two eyes, imperfect eyes, that got purified by seeing this, witnessing this. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., he's up and he's chanting his round every morning, even if he is sick. When he came to Rain and Alang, he felt sick, and sometimes he will not wake up, only 2 times. He will not wake up at 1:30, but he will wake up at 2 or 2:30, but still, it's like very early, It's 3 hours before Mangalarti, actually, before the Brahma Multa. So it's incredible. At his age, is like so inspirational. And I was able to serve him. I just want to terminate to finish in that with that short story that I want to share with you. He fell sick, and he said to me, actually, I cannot at my age, I'm sick. I don't want to take a cold shower, and it was quite cold where we were. We were in the mountain, and he said, actually, there is no. I don't know why, but the house has some problem with the hot water, and he said to me, yes, the water was temporary closed, like we can't use at night. They will close it, so we can't use at night. And when you wake up at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m., there is no water. So I had to fill water the day before, use some some pot, some bucket, and I will fill water for him, and I will wake up. I was waking up at 1 a.m. or before him to put some. I will use that. I don't know if you can see, to boil water.
Yes.
I was using that, and I filled hot water in this cold in the bucket of water that I filled before, and I help him to have some hot water so that he can bath. But I had to wake up before him, at perhaps 12, at 1 a.m. or I need to wake up before him. And he said, "Can you manage?" He said like this. I said, "Can you manage?" And I said, "Of course, Prabhu. I need to serve you. I'm not competent. I'm not qualified to do anything, but at least I should be able to do that. At least I should be able to wake up before you and do this favor for you, at least, because anything, I'm so useless, and at least I need to do that." And I do that three days in a row, and then he was so gentle, and I noticed that my relationship with him strengthened when I begin to serve him, like this. And I will never forget that. I will never forget that little seva that I did for a pure devotee like him. I will never forget that, because it changed me forever, It changed me forever. I'm not the same, I'm not the same. Sometimes Maya, she's still here, no matter how strong you become. And this is the teaching. No matter how strong you become, Maya will always testing you. Always. It's Grace Nagopal Prabhu in the class today. He shared Prahlad Maharaj prayer. And even Prahlad Maharaj asked the Lord, Nashima, please take this material desire away. But he's already so pure devotee, but he still prayed to Narasimha to take the material desire away, because Maya is so powerful that the moment that she enters, you give her the space, then it's finished. So we have to be alert. Like, I am in Krishna consciousness now, or every second, I am in Krishna consciousness, I am serving Krishna now, I am serving Srila Prabhupada now, or I am serving my senses. What I am doing? We have always to remember that. And when His Grace Nagopal Prabhu was there, I have no time to think that I don't serve him. I will always try to, my mind, what I did, I need to do something for him. Oh, I need to do that. My mind was absorbed, And this is what I noticed, that when you meet someone so so advanced like this, then you imbibe their quality, and their quality is to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness every day, every time, you know, no room for Maya, no room. When I see him, I say, whoa, this is incredible. So concentrate, you know, so focus. And at the same time, he's making like it's easy for him. It's easy, but it's not easy, you know? It's not, he's making it like it's easy to focus like that, to be so strong like that, but this is not.
Prabhu,
This is not.
just to interrupt you, unfortunately, I have
Yeah,
to
no, it's
urgently
okay.
leave now. I have to urgently leave now. I wish I could stay
Yes,
a bit
Prabhu,
longer.
please.
I will continue this. Don't
Vancha
forget, I want to keep hearing from you. Thank you so much for
No,
associating
it's
with me.
okay. Please forgive me.
Sorry if the time was a bit overboard also. Thank you so much, Gaura Shakti Prabhu.
Vancha kalpatarubecha
Absolutely
kripa sindhu
precious
bevacha patitanam pavani bhuvashnavi bhyo namo namah. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Oh,
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai
Prabhu,
Shri Prabhupada.
I
Thank you
think
so much.
there's a
for
live
joining.
coming. His Grace Tattva Prabhu. He's going to make
Yes,
a
Prabhu.
live at 5 p.m. I don't know what's the time in South Africa.
Thank you all. Vancha kalpatarubecha kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavani bhuvashnavi bhyo namo namah. Ananta Kuti Vaishnavinde ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for joining. Hare
Interesting
Krishna.
story about this Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu's saver, Prabhu. I wish
Oh
it
no,
was
it's
me.
okay. Yeah, I just
I was
want to
really
share a
interested.
little story if I can. So thank you very much for attending the session and for being here.
I think
I
next
really
week,
appreciate
Prabhu,
that.
I think next week we can do Nectar of Instruction as well, because every Sunday we have a program where we preach about it now. I think we can
Yes,
also
but it will held on the reading session.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, for example, tonight the reading session will be about that. The Nectar of Instruction. We will read the following, verse. I think we are in the verse, the chapter 6 or 7 of Nectar of Instruction. So we will read from those chapters until the end. Actually, it only have 12 chapters.
Oh yes.
So it will be on the reading session itself.
So
This
meaning every
session. Yes, not only Saturday. We have a session also in Thursday, reading session Thursday. So two reading session, Thursday and Saturday. Thursday and Saturday. If Saturday is not necessarily needed, but sometimes when the lecture is when the reading is very long, then we need two reading session. But if only one reading session, we can read the whole thing. Then we will do only one Thursday. Thursday is the one that special reading. We will read for preparing ourselves to talk for the Istagosti.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So every Thursday now we will have a special reading session, and it's related to what we talk about in Istagosti.
Yes.
Yes. So this is it. Thank you very much. Sorry if I delay you somehow. And thank you very much for your precious association. This is really important for us to stay in connection for being strong. Your voice is breaking a little. Perhaps you can turn off your camera, but it will be better. Just try. Your voice is breaking.
Can you hear me now, Prabhu?
Yes. Oh, yes, it's better.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Prabhu. I was saying you must have a wonderful book distribution day, Prabhu.
Oh yes,
I know you're going to
I
distribute.
am with my son now, so perhaps I can't distribute today, but I will do some Halinam. I will try to do some Halinam
Oh,
at least 1 or 2 hours. I will try. But when I am with my son,
yes.
it's like not very easy to go to those place and to distribute book. I need to take care of him, to be with him, you know. This is
Oh,
the impediment to be a father in this material world. So
no
I just
problem.
yeah, I just go with it. It's okay. It's my mistake.
Oh, yes.
So now I need to adjust
It's not
everything
a mistake,
according.
Prabhu.
So
Yes,
oh, it's
Prabhu.
now you don't have. So if you have no girl in your mind, please remain brahmachari the rest of your life.
Yes, yes,
This
Prabhu.
is the this is the best this is the best thing to do actually. This is
Yes, yes,
the
Prabhu.
wisdom.
Yeah.
So if
You
you
know,
don't
Maya
have any
Prabhu,
girl in your mind,
actually, like this Maya Prabhu, we tend to desire for children, until we get them and then we see, oh, children are,
yeah,
like
you
very
should go read the 558 verse and purport. So it's natural for us to be attracted to women and women be attracted to us. But this is the basic of all the material attachment that we had after that, after that relation. So
Oh,
if you can avoid that relation, it's better. So practice brahmacharya, Prabhu. And
yes,
then
yes,
you will be much more useful to Srila Prabhupada, not
Arab-
like a rascal like me, you know. I just
Ah,
try to, I just try now to uh, make good use for the bad bargain that I had.
yes, yes,
But
Lord.
yeah, so the best way is to remain brahmachari. Yeah,
Yes,
this is the royal path to Goloka Vrindavan. Actually,
yes, yes.
yeah, you will only get stronger and stronger. You see, His Grace Tadvavi Prabhu
Oh,
is
yes,
like an example. Yeah. So this is brahmacharya. When you are brahmachari, you are like this, strong as he is, you know,
yes, yes, Prabhu.
and you can make very good advancement in your spiritual life. But yes, Prabhu, I try to do whatever I can to serve Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhu.
mission. Yeah,
Yes,
I try, Prabhu. I'm not qualified, but I try to do something. At least, because otherwise, how can I speak to you all? How
yes,
can
yes,
I
Prabhu.
speak so like this, if I even I have to preach myself first. I have to preach myself first.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't say those things to because I'm not qualified, but I just like your presence, all of you. Yeah, I
Yes,
just like this association of devotee, and it make me stronger. It
yes,
make it make my uh it make me become like fire. you
yes,
know
yes, Prabhu. I understand.
so yeah, so thank you very much. It's a long time that we didn't have this session, and
Yes, yes,
now
Prabhu.
it's back on track. So we will try to make it much more professional, much more, but still this is association of devotees, so uh, sometimes it will be like that,
Yes, yes,
it will
Prabhu.
goes for hour and hour. This is
Yeah.
Krishna consciousness. So thank you forever. Thank you
Thank you,
for
Prabhu.
everyone, and for your attendance, and for uh, this beautiful presentation of Yovish Prabhu Maharaj.
Yes. Yes,
I have no word, he's just so knowledgeable, I have no words.
yes.
But yeah, it makes sense, we have to become much more uh, serious and reach about that book more, and try to uh, you know uh, learn everything uh, as much as we can, so that we can become a strong preacher. We can help him, in his um, mission somehow. And by preaching, actually, you become free from Maya. So this is the main thing. If you become a strong preacher, then you are free from Maya. Maya
Yes,
has no room to tempt you to to do the rascal thing. No, because you are preacher always absorbed in how can I become much more knowledgeable so that I can much more efficient. How can I do that? Always absorb in the mission of preaching of Krishna, thinking of Krishna, how he can help, how he can do that, how he can convince other, what he should do. So you are always absorbed and Maya cannot touch you.
yes,
And for the small experience when I do some Harinam for 4 hours sometimes, 4 hours straight, and I don't have some backup. Like when you do Kirtan, someone is chanting and you are listening. So
Yes,
you
yes,
can you can rest your voice. You can rest, But sometimes I will chant for 3 or 4 hours without resting my voice, only
yes,
chanting. And I noticed that actually you can go on forever if you are focusing on the name. This is like japa. If you really do your japa properly with attention, you can go on forever.
Oh,
No
yes,
one can
yes,
stop you. No one can stop you. You can go on forever, but we lack of attention. Our mind is restless. Then
yes,
we will, our mind will say, oh no, you have to go now. You have to go. But you have to go where? If you are with the Supreme Lord. For example,
yes, yes,
Dhruva Maharaj, the story, the Dhruva Maharaj, at the beginning, you just want some material desire, oh, I want this kingdom, I want that. And at the end, when he saw the Supreme Lord, then he said, oh, I was searching for some broken piece of glass, but I found some jewel. I found a jewel. So when you see the Supreme Lord, if you chant quality japa and you feel that the Lord is with you, he's there. You can feel it. Just like when you eat, you know that you are full. You
yes,
don't
yes,
need a certificate for that. So you know, yeah, you know that this is Srila Prabhupada analogy. You don't need a certificate to know that you are full.
yes,
You
yes.
know it. So
You
you
actually
know when
know
Krishna
it.
is you know when Krishna is with you. You know. So where do you want to go? The
Yes,
Lord
yes.
is here. Where do you want to go? This is the question.
Yes,
So this rascal
Prabhu.
mind is like this. Oh, please go. Why? The Lord is here. Please, I will stay more. I want to chant more. You see? So this is our fight. Our fight is this dilemma, should we listen to this rascal mind, or, should we listen to a bona fide spiritual master?
Yes, yes,
So
Prabhu.
we need to choose. So thank you very much, Prabhus. I will
Thank
wrap
you.
up this session now. Jai
Yes,
Shri
yes. Thank
Prabhupada, all
you.
glories to all of you. All glories to what you are doing to become serious in Krishna consciousness and to associate with the devotee. You are
Thank
all
you.
an inspiration for me, and to see you all every day is making me more serious and more devotee, in my sadhana. So thank you very much for that. And see you next week for this weekly Sangha. I will try to organize some presentation also. I will try to do something. And if it's not me, it will be other. I will see. But you are most welcome also if you have some realization, something to share with us. Please do it, and just text me to give me all the information and to say to me that you want to do something, and then we will present it in Saturday. So this session is about us, is about deepen and strengthen our bond so that we can become much more happy together. This is the whole point.
Thank you, bro.
So thank you very much. We will meet at the Tadvavid Prabhu lecture, His Grace Tadvavid Prabhu lecture. I try to do some preaching. I will see. So thank you very much. All glories to you. All glories, Srila Prabhupada. And hope to see you next Saturday, same hour, same time.
Even tomorrow, Prabhu, Ishtagoshti.
Yes, we can call it like this. This is for us, for to strengthen our bond, so that we can become much more stronger. Because physical association is important, and we don't have that.
Yes.
So we need to connect through this via medium, internet. Internet is becoming the via medium of Krishna and his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So we have to thank internet for that, this Zoom application, everything. We have to thank that technology that help us to connect in Vani and to see each other and to hear the voice.
When we do, after the cities are bombed and we sit in the forest all together in the Kirtan ring, we will think, oh, we had the internet.
Prabhu, for the internet, we are able to hear Srila Prabhupada's voice because they recorded him.
You see?
Yes.
So actually, he knows that, Srila Prabhupada knows that because the pure devotee will know past, present, and future. Because Krishna will show him, Krishna will show. So he knows that it will have some internet, everything. The technology will be like this. So he said, oh, you can go on like this, in Ritvik, and then everything will be there, We can listen to his lecture. We can listen to his voice every day. Everything is there. He is the only acharya that is like this. You can find anything, anything. You want to some class from him. There is you want to do something. You can because he's so documentary. Everything is there, So he knows about that. He knows that we will have strong association with him. Actually, more than those who were so close to him. You can be very close to Prabhupada if you follow him strictly. You can really be very close because the most important thing is Vani. The Vapu will be finished, but the Vani will remain, and this is the real association. So even if we are far away from each other, just we organize some meeting like this and we regularly, and then actually we feel that this is strong. Actually, this is much more better than if I had a physical association with all of you. Actually, because if I had physical association, I will certainly commit some offense. And this is the main thing. You will commit some offense.
Yes,
but the Vani, you have more, not so much room to commit some offense. It's very secure because there is some distance. So you will not become how to say that, very close, like intimate. We shouldn't be like that.
Familiar.
We shouldn't be like intimate, like, oh, I can tell everything now. Sami Prabhu is my friend, he's my no, we still have respect that Sami Prabhu is a spirit soul, and I should respect him as so. He's Vaishnava. I should respect him like so. This is Vaishnava etiquette. The Vaishnava etiquette should be always respected, always follow. the moment you become very intimate, and then because we are conditioned, and we will let our nature take place. Oh, this is just like material when I was in school, and this is not the same thing. We are not in the same school. We are in a spiritual school, and this is not the same thing. So we shouldn't think that, oh, this is the same relationship. No, no, this is different. Now we should always pay respect, always. And there is a certain code to address someone, Prabhu. Not sometimes we can joke, oh, it's okay, but it shouldn't become like there is no respect behind.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I will be alert in this, because I noticed that if devotee become too intimate and too close, then sometimes it will have it offense, and then it's the disaster because after that there will be a separation. So the best thing is to always remember that we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are spirit soul, and we need to cooperate. Cooperation, this is needed. We need to cooperate so that Sami Prabhu can make some advancement in his spiritual life. I can make some advancement in my spiritual life. Lebong Prabhu also, everyone who is in the chat, can together, we can make an elevation. We can elevate ourselves. We can make some good progress. But we shouldn't think that, oh, now Sami Prabhu is my good friend, and then I can say to him everything, we shouldn't think like that, First thing is to always follow the Shastra injunction. It is authorized. What I am trying to say, it is something that can help him, the austerity of speech, Bhagavad Gita 17.15. We need to to speak what is beneficial, what is not agitating to the mind of others, especially devotee. So we need to always check the Shastra and always follow that and respect the devotee. So you all are, according not to my word, but according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you all are Vaishnav. He said the moment the person chant Hare Krishna, he is a Vaishnav. But then he had to go to the process and become pure and perfect. But he is already a Vaishnav, so we should always pay obeisances. And then, yes, we can joke sometimes. It shouldn't be like this material relationship, like we can talk about anything and everything. No, we should always back up. If what I am trying to say is, it is according to the Shastra, or it is my mind. I want to speak my nonsense mind, or this is, and how can we do that if we do this austerity of speech? We talk what is beneficial for others. What is beneficial for a devotee is to talk about Krishna. This is beneficial. Is to talk about Shastra. This is beneficial. If you talk mundane thing, then it's not different than to talk with a mundane kami, something. It's not different to do a glamour kata. It's not different. So we have to always engage our tongue to glorify the Lord, to talk about Bhagavad Gita, Shrimad Bhagavatam, and we have so much to talk about. And this is what will make us pure. And the one who is listening also will become purified by our speech. So I just want to say that. So thank you very much, all of you. Now I want to wrap up the session and see you next Saturday, same time. And we will do some kirtan also. I will do a small kirtan with the Milindanga.
Ribolo.
I'm not so good. I'm not so good. Please forgive me. I'm not so good in a milidanga, but at least I will do some, some small kirtan, but not short kirtan, and just to make sure that I can present something to you all, with the milidanga. I'm so eager to make you listen to me playing the milidanga. So I try my best to train, so to practice. Sami Prabhu, don't be harsh to me. Yeah, I try my best. It's yes, Pranjal Prabhu. I'm also eager to make you listen to my progress in milidanga. It's not good, but at least it's better than what it was before. So I just want to share with you. So thank you very much, dear Prabhus. Jai Shila Prabhupada. We will meet next week. Jai.